after police say 2 women were found dead inside a building on 2nd Street this past weekend.
The 2 women found dead here on Saturday. Now, neighbors say it's a mother and her daughter, but police have not confirmed.
Imagine living in fear of the person you love most. Imagine answering your phone late at night and hearing a terrified mother on the other end.
Their blood was seen smeared along the walls all up
begging for help. Not because someone had broken into her home. Not because she was being stalked. Not because she was afraid of strangers, but because she was afraid of her own daughter. A daughter she had raised. A daughter she had protected. A daughter she never stopped loving.
Kayla called me around 9 o'clock at night to ask me if she could come cook some food at my house.
It's a dangerous situation. We need our young girls to listen to y'all mothers, man. Don't be.
For months, according to those who knew them, this Brooklyn mother desperately tried to get help for her troubled child. She reached out to friends. She sought medical treatment. She confided in neighbors. She worried constantly about what might happen next. Then one quiet Saturday evening, those fears appeared to become reality. Police responding to a distress call entered a brownstone apartment in one of Brooklyn's most desirable neighborhoods and discovered a horrifying scene. A mother and daughter were dead. Both had suffered multiple stab wounds. Investigators would soon arrive at a heartbreaking theory that shocked the entire community. Tonight, we take a closer look at the tragic deaths of Olga Bracero and Kayla Wilson. A story involving a mother's unconditional love, a young woman's apparent mental health struggles, desperate cries for help, and a devastating ending that has left neighbors asking whether this tragedy could have been prevented. As always, this story contains disturbing details. Viewer discretion is advised. The neighborhood of Park Slope, Brooklyn, is often described as one of New York City's most charming communities. Tree-lined streets stretch between rows of historic brownstones. Families stroll through the neighborhood parks. Local cafes buzz with conversation. It is a place many people dream of calling home. Violent crime is not what most residents associate with Park Slope. That is why news of the deaths spread so quickly and struck such a powerful emotional chord throughout the community. The victims were identified as 59-year-old Olga Bracero and her 23-year-old daughter, Kayla Wilson. To neighbors and friends, Olga was known as a kind and caring woman. She worked as a vegan chef and had earned a reputation as someone who was thoughtful, intelligent, and compassionate. Those who knew her struggled to find anything negative to say about her. People described her as warm. They described her as sweet. They described her as someone who genuinely cared about others. Yet behind the walls of her Brooklyn home, friends say she was carrying a burden that few could fully understand. According to neighbors, Olga had become increasingly worried about her daughter. What began as concern eventually turned into fear. One of the people who knew the family best was neighbor Deshaun Jackson. Standing outside the brownstone after the tragedy, Jackson reflected on years of friendship with the mother and daughter. He described both women as good people. To him, they were not simply neighbors. They were part of his extended family. Over time, Olga and Kayla had become closely connected with the Jackson family. They attended celebrations together. They spent time together. They shared meals and memories together. The relationship was built on trust. That trust is one reason Olga felt comfortable reaching out to Jackson when things began going wrong. According to him, there was a moment when everything seemed to change. He believes the turning point came after a trip the mother and daughter took to Jamaica. Before that trip, life appeared relatively normal. Afterward, according to Jackson, something was different. Something had changed in Kayla. Jackson recalled conversations in which Olga expressed concerns about her daughter's behavior after returning from the trip. According to him, Olga believed Kayla had smoked marijuana while they were away, and that she was never quite the same afterward. There is no official evidence linking the tragedy directly to that event, and investigators have not established any such connection. However, Jackson says Olga firmly believed her daughter's behavior changed dramatically after that experience. The daughter she knew seemed to be slipping away. As weeks turned into months, Olga reportedly became increasingly alarmed. Jackson says she began reaching out to him for help. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. One call in particular has stayed with him. According to Jackson, Olga told him that her daughter appeared to be struggling with serious mental health issues. She believed Kayla was hearing voices and behaving in ways that frightened her. He recalled Olga telling him that Kayla was fighting demons and that voices were encouraging her to do harmful things. Whether those experiences were symptoms of a psychiatric disorder or something else entirely remains unknown. But according to those closest to the family, the situation was becoming increasingly serious. Friends watched as Olga desperately searched for solutions. She did not ignore the problem. She did not pretend everything was fine. Instead, she sought help. According to Jackson, efforts were eventually made to get Kayla treatment. She was reportedly hospitalized and remained under care for approximately 2 weeks. During that time, there may have been hope. Perhaps doctors could stabilize her condition. Perhaps medication would help. Perhaps the crisis could be brought under control. Families dealing with severe mental health challenges often cling tightly to moments like these. They hope treatment will provide answers. They hope things will improve. They hope their loved one can find relief from whatever torment they are experiencing. For Olga, that hope may have been all she had. But according to Jackson, the improvement did not last. After Kayla returned home, troubling behavior allegedly continued. The phone calls resumed. The fear remained. And then came one of the most disturbing warnings of all. Jackson says Olga contacted him and described a frightening situation inside the home. According to him, Kayla was walking around carrying a knife. Not occasionally, not by accident, but routinely. Jackson claimed that the young woman frequently kept the weapon tucked into her pocket. For Olga, that detail was impossible to ignore. Imagine being a mother watching your child struggle, while also fearing what that struggle might lead to. Imagine feeling responsible for protecting your daughter, while simultaneously worrying that you might need protection from her. It is a heartbreaking contradiction. Love and fear existing side by side. Compassion mixed with anxiety. Hope battling against dread. Neighbors now look back on those warnings and wonder whether they represented the final signs of a crisis spiraling out of control. Another neighbor, Chosadaya Jackson, remembered seeing Kayla shortly before the tragedy. The encounter stayed with her. According to Chosadaya, Kayla appeared disconnected from the world around her. She described seeing the young woman walking through the neighborhood in a daze. No headphones, no phone conversation, no interaction with anyone nearby, just walking, lost in thought, zoned out. At the time, it may have seemed unusual. Now, after the tragedy, that memory feels far more significant. Many people who experience loss find themselves replaying old encounters in their minds. They revisit conversations. They remember expressions. They search for clues that might explain what happened. For those who knew Kayla, those memories have become difficult to escape. Then came Saturday evening. Shortly before 8 p.m., emergency responders were dispatched to the brownstone on 2nd Street following reports of an unresponsive female. When officers arrived, they entered the residence and discovered a devastating scene. Inside were Olga Bracero and Kayla Wilson. Both women had suffered multiple stab wounds. Neither could be saved. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. For investigators, the next task was determining exactly what had happened. As detectives processed evidence and reconstructed events, a theory quickly began to emerge. Law enforcement sources indicated that investigators believe Kayla Wilson fatally stabbed her mother before turning the knife on herself. The investigation remains ongoing, and authorities continue examining the circumstances surrounding the deaths. But for many people close to the family, the possibility was almost too painful to comprehend. A mother who spent months trying to help her daughter. A daughter apparently battling serious personal struggles. A relationship defined by both love and fear, ending in unimaginable violence. News of the tragedy spread rapidly throughout Park Slope. Neighbors gathered outside the building. Some stood silently. Others shared memories. Many struggled to process what had happened. Among them was neighbor Christine Doyle. Speaking about Olga, Doyle's voice reflected the sadness felt throughout the community. She remembered Olga as an exceptionally kind person. Someone who always left a positive impression. Someone who seemed genuinely good-hearted. Again and again, neighbors described Olga using the same words. Sweet, warm, kind, caring, beautiful inside and out. The consistency of those descriptions paints a clear picture of how deeply respected she was. For many residents, the tragedy felt especially cruel because of who Olga was. She was not known for conflict. She was not known for causing problems. She was known for kindness, and that is how people want to remember her. As investigators continued their work, another unsettling detail emerged. This was not the first murder-suicide connected to the building. Just 2 years earlier, another shocking tragedy had unfolded at the same address. In January 2024, a man allegedly shot and killed his partner before taking his own life. The coincidence left neighbors deeply unsettled. Some began referring to the building as cursed. While there is no evidence supporting such claims, the emotional reaction is understandable. When multiple tragedies occur in the same place, people naturally search for explanations. They look for meaning. They look for reasons. Sometimes they look for anything that helps make sense of the senseless. But those who knew Olga believe the focus should remain on the people involved rather than the building itself. For them, this story is not about curses. It is about loss. It is about grief. It is about a mother and daughter whose lives ended in heartbreaking circumstances. One of the most emotional aspects of this case is the absence of close family nearby. According to Chausadaya Jackson, Olga and Kayla had no significant family network in the immediate area. Instead, they built relationships within the community. They formed bonds with neighbors. They created their own support system. The Jackson family became an important part of that support system. Over the years, they celebrated birthdays together, shared meals together, spent holidays together, created memories together. They became family in everything except name. That closeness made the tragedy even more devastating. The loss was not distant. It was personal, very personal. As community members mourn, many are left wrestling with difficult questions. Could more have been done? Were there enough resources available? Did everyone recognize how serious the situation had become? Would additional intervention have changed the outcome? Those questions may never be fully answered. Cases involving severe mental health challenges are often incredibly complex. Families frequently find themselves navigating systems that can be difficult to understand and difficult to access. Even when help is sought, solutions are not always straightforward. Loved ones often feel trapped between concern, responsibility, fear, and hope. In many ways, Olga's story reflects that struggle. According to those who knew her, she never stopped trying to help her daughter. She reached out repeatedly. She sought assistance. She looked for answers. She continued searching for ways to protect her child, even as she worried about her own safety. That determination speaks to the depth of a mother's love. The kind of love that continues even when circumstances become frightening. The kind of love that refuses to give up. The kind of love that endures until the very end. For Deshaun Jackson, the emotional weight of the tragedy remains overwhelming. Reflecting on the deaths, he described breaking down in tears. Despite everything he had witnessed, despite the warning signs, despite the phone calls, despite the fear, he never truly believed the story would end this way. No one wanted to believe it. No one wanted to imagine the worst possible outcome. Yet that outcome arrived anyway. Today, the brownstone stands quietly on its Brooklyn street. The sidewalks remain busy. Neighbors continue walking past. Life in Park Slope moves forward. But for those who knew Olga Bracero and Kayla Wilson, nothing feels quite the same. A beloved mother is gone. A troubled young woman is gone. A community is grieving. And countless questions remain unanswered. What happened during those final moments inside the apartment? What thoughts were running through their minds? What pain were they carrying? What could have changed the course of events? Those answers may never come. What remains are memories. Memories of a mother remembered for her kindness. Memories of a daughter whose struggles appear to have overwhelmed her. Memories of a friendship that became family. And memories of a tragedy that has left an entire neighborhood heartbroken. Behind every crime headline lies a human story. Behind every police investigation lies a family forever changed. And behind this tragedy stands the image of a mother who spent her final months trying desperately to save the daughter she loved more than anything in the world. A daughter she never stopped believing in. a daughter she never stopped fighting for, even until her final day.
After police say 2 women were found dead inside a building on 2nd Street this past weekend.
The 2 women found dead here on Saturday. Now neighbors say it's a mother and her daughter, but police have not confirmed